Folks, it was a Red River for the ages. We'll talk about all of that and more on the latest episode of the Schooner Pod. Let's hit that intro music.
Bobby.
No. This isn't okay. That's ridiculous. It literally wasn't letting me unmute. Hello, and it was literally not. The button was there and it wouldn't let me do it. It's ridiculous. Hello and welcome back to the Schooner Pod. I'm your host, Bobby Howard. With me hosting, as always, it's the great Ty Lee and the doctor himself, Jameson Maxwell. And guys, that was one of the best OU Texas games ever that we've definitely seen. A remarkable OU win, 34-30, down to the wire. Incredible ball game. And guys, I'm honestly kind of at a loss for words. This is a hard thing. We have seen our fair share of classics. 21, was definitely one. Same with, I feel like ever since we've started this podcast, we've gotten almost nothing but great OU Texas games other than last year's debacle. Just another incredible football game.
Yeah, put those horns up in the sky. Come on, I want to see those horns up. Come on, Ty. I know you like putting the horns up in the sky. Give me a double.
I don't know why you're. Once again, we'll discuss it on the weekend spread. But Bowden Blake and I, the only true OU fans who thought that OU would win.
No.
But, that's for Wednesday.
I made the sacrifice that I didn't want to make, but I did. It's a kiss of death.
Bobby, no, don't hedge it. Don't hedge it.
No.
We did not think Oklahoma was going to win or cover. That is totally fine. We didn't believe it. And let me tell you something. This team proved to us that what we saw in the beginning of the season is legitimately who they are. They proved me wrong. I knew they were good. I didn't realize they were going to keep it up from what we saw and actually play it out for a whole 4 quarters versus a top 3 team in the nation.
Yeah, I mean, it really looks like we ran out of steam there in that fourth, honestly. Where there's a moment where, it was right after that last Texas drive where they ended up kicking that field goal to take the lead. And just overall, you just felt this shift that, the offense isn't going to get it done because they hadn't really had success other than that, opening touchdown of the half. You could just tell that, the defense was getting gashed. It just was like, they're just not going to have enough steam. Texas woke up. They're going to get this thing over the line. But wow, what a resilient, incredible performance across the board from the Sooners. Just unreal.
I will say on that note, Bobby, I mean, it was a hard game. And, anyone who's watched football for any amount of time knows that, towards the end of the game, the defenses will get gassed a little faster than the offenses. When I went and rewatched some highlights, obviously the OU offense had a lot of trouble making things really click and making things really happen in the second half of the game as a whole. But both defenses, I think, looked equally gassed when you really go back and watch the tape. We had some really goofy play calling, but once you got towards the end of the game, I mean, you could see on both sides just how I'm sure as a Texas fans must have been screaming at their TVs and at the game at that last drive, just seeing a guy completely uncovered and seeing everyone just being sort of a step slow, which is the exact thing that I saw, like a minute earlier, like you talked about on, Texas's last touchdown drive and then their drive that ended in a field goal. I thought we were screwed because everyone just looked so gassed out there and they just couldn't keep up with the offense. But go back and rewatch it. Same thing's happening on the Texas side.
See, here's the thing. And you're saying that, Ty, like whenever you play a team as talented and as good as Texas, there's going to be ebbs and flows of the game. We're talking like, Bobby, you're like, oh, I was disappointed the way that OU played in the second half. Looks like they didn't have as much gas. We're playing an absolutely stellar team. So even though we looked like the best team for about 90% of that game, yeah, we're disappointed in that 10% where we didn't. And that 10% almost lost us the game. But the way that we controlled the narrative for the majority of this game until that last two drives before our game-winning drive, that is something to really hang our hat on and to be really proud of, because this was not a game like 2 years ago where we beat Texas, where we had to have a massive comeback and have a lot of momentum. It's not like the quadruple overtime game. This was a game where we controlled it for the majority of the game. We had it, and then it slipped away from us for a little bit, but we were good enough to recover and win the game.
Right, and I don't want to say I was disappointed in the play because Texas is good. That is evident that this is not a bad Texas team. I thought the Longhorns, came out and did, provide a really good performance. It was just one of those where when you're watching your team and you just have that sinking feeling in your gut that it's just like, oh man, this thing just probably isn't going to work out.
Mm-hmm.
That's the feeling I was getting, and I was wrong.
Yeah.
That Gabriel drive to ice the ball game at the very end, astonishing, kind of out of nowhere, but truly incredible. And again, even defensively, the grit to make sure Texas doesn't score a touchdown on that last drive. It wasn't. I'm not saying it was bad. It was just you could kind of tell that momentum was shifting, and Texas had finally gotten under everything kind of under control. But that was a game that, look, I'm going to be honest, with the amount of mistakes that Texas made that we kind of didn't capitalize on. And I'm not trying to sound ungrateful. I'm not trying to act like this is, a bad performance. It was an incredible performance. OU could have won this game by several touchdowns.
Easily.
This could have been a really, really resolute win. OU was the better team, I think, by far.
Yeah, Bobby, you have a good point that I've been hanging on to this talking point since we started. First one, little point, I think Texas, I don't know that they really made that many mistakes. That first interception by Ewers was just inexcusable. I have no idea why he threw that. But when I look at the turnovers, OU created those. Those were good plays, smart plays, even the fumble. That was, he put his face mask on the football, as he went in for a fundamental tackle. And that's what happens when you do things right. So, I don't know that there's that many massive, massive mistakes from Texas that just Texas created that we just happen to have fall into our lap, because I truly think that all of those big mistakes, the ones we didn't capitalize on as well, but, our defense created those. If you're pointing at the mistakes, obviously there were some mistakes by Texas defenses sometimes. Is that play calling? Is that a genuine, guy getting burned? But the big thing I wanted to touch on was this game felt like the first OU game for me in a long time where OU was facing a team who everyone expected them to be significantly better than OU, and OU won it by just being a good fundamental team. And the part of that was because we were able to get them on their back foot right away with that great interception and then immediately capitalize on that and put them on their back foot. But Texas's first touchdown was off of several trick plays, going for it on fourth, a fake punt,
it was the punt
everything
block.
else. But you just can't say.
Their first touchdown was the punt block.
It was that first drive of theirs getting that far.
Yeah, okay, yeah,
it was all. Yeah, because the fake punt, and then I'm with you. I see where you're going.
The first
where I'm going with
offensive
this
touchdown. I got what you're saying.
The first offensive drive.
We didn't have to do gimmicks. We didn't have to do a bunch of trick plays or whatever else. We went out there. We played basic, fundamental offense and defense the entire time, and we won the game. And I think more impressively, like you touched on at the start of the pod, Bobby, we saw a product from this OU team against this is still a very, very good Texas team. We saw a product from this OU team that was the same product that we saw against Missouri State and everything else. So there's no, Lincoln Riley or whatever else, not going to get up for a big game, or we're going to be really gimmicky, or we're going to be super emotional and crash. This was very consistent. And this is, I think, not to get ahead of ourselves, the type of team that if we continue to build will be in contention for national championships. I'm not saying this year, but that's the type of football we need to see. It's great to see under Venables.
Yeah, absolutely. Because we played a complete game. That's what it is. Well, we showed before this game our strengths we played to our strengths. We continued to show that. Our secondary was coming into this game tied for most interceptions right off the bat. We get two interceptions and then a fumble later from a secondary player. Our cornerbacks and safeties are absolutely playmakers. Gentry Williams goes down with an injury. We'll see how that goes through. The bye weeks can be really helpful. But that safety room with Billy Bowman playing absolutely amazing this year. And also Peyton Bowen coming into his form and absolutely already being a force as the number 3, number 4 guy out of the safety room. We have so many guys who are out there trying to make plays that are so athletic that every single game this season, we are going to have a big time play from someone in the secondary that is going to change the game. And it's unbelievable because we've never had something like that. And honestly, can we talk about that in our lifetime? Maybe a couple times, but for our lifetime, very, very rare to have what we have in the secondary.
I mean, you'd have to go back to guys like Derek Strait,
that's what it is. That's why
2000s.
I hesitated.
Mike Stoops.
Right.
Mike Stoops defense.
Well, Mike, a little bit of Mike Stoops, a little bit of Brent, back in their
first
co-DCs. Yeah, it feels like a classic early 2000s defense. Secondary wise, it's different. And just truly unreal to see. And you got to give credit to guys who have been there for a while, who have been coached up right. Woody Washington, Billy Bowman. Those aren't Brent Venables products
Woody's
exactly.
So good,
but oh my gosh, and it's one of those where if you look at the numbers, if you just wanted to look at the sheets, stats, all that, it might not look appealing. Texas did put over 500 yards of offense on us, a lot of passing yards, but it works. What the Brent Venables kind of bend don't break system setup, it absolutely works. It's a defense that gets results. Damn the stats, throw them out the window. It gets stuff done.
Yeah, it is. It's an interesting defense to see play out because obviously, we saw it creates a lot of, and I feel like the stats don't actually bear this out, but maybe just being a frustrated OU fan, especially in the second half, we were very good at creating third down situations. I feel like Texas was very good at sort of converting on third downs, even though I think they weren't actually statistically that good on that. And then obviously the fourth downs were pretty frustrating as well. But yeah, this bend don't break defense, whether we're doing it on purpose, obviously is working. Holding this Texas team to 30 points, I think, is a very, very impressive feat. Even with Ewers having potentially an off game, depending on how you want to look at it. But I like this defense. I like the bend don't break, whether it's on purpose or not, because it does seem like a situation where let's kind of ignore some of the stats, let's ignore the noise and just produce results. It doesn't matter how many yards they put up on us. The reverse Iowa thing. Offensive yardage, it literally is the most overrated stat because if you're not turning them into points, if you're putting it into the red zone and then you have 4 plays to get a single yard and you just can't do it on this defense, that is just, that's what matters. They can drive all the way down there and get it to the 1 yard line. Doesn't matter. We're going to stop you. And I think that play is just so, so important too, because plays like that or stands like that on the 1 yard line are, when you show people they're possible, that's what you get extra effort from people. You get the DBs, trying not to let that guy run away with it. So what if I only tackle him at the 3, and they get a 75-yard pass? If I stop the touchdown, it might matter, that type of thing. So that was the sequence of the game. I can't think of a time that OU had a big, I think 10, 12 years ago, there was a goal line stand in Bedlam or something like that is the last time I remember a goal line stand of that magnitude.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, Ty, I'm totally with you. And I'll put it this way. That defensive goal line stand feels like Brent Venables has coached 19 games. That feels like the most significant sequence of all of his entire tenure here. That
Easily.
Was so remarkable, so energizing to stop them 4 straight times on the 1 like that. It was unreal. My soul left my body in the Cotton Bowl. It was genuinely one of the most unreal goal line stands. It's up there with some of the best in Sooner history. You go back to like the 2003, Bedlam one is up there. I believe there's what there. A lot of people were talking about like 84 Nebraska up there with that, but what it symbolizes and what it signifies, it matters more than all of them, because it shows that this team, from a confidence standpoint, is back. From an aggressiveness standpoint, is back. It shows that this unit, what it has become in such a short period of time, it embodies toughness. It embodies just everything. Texas threw the damn kitchen sink at OU. They had Jatavion Sweat out there as a lead blocker. None of it mattered. Their size, their strength, all of it didn't matter, because our will was great. The OU will was greater than their will. And they just truly unbelievable. A lot of plays happened after that, but I'd go as far as say that they won the game on that drive right there. That was incredible.
Yeah, they prevented themselves from losing the game with that drive. That's what it was. Like having a goal line stop is a huge feat, but really it showed, like defense is, a lot of it is the defense and making a stop, but also it's the offense kind of shooting themselves in the foot, a poor play here and there that gets them behind. A 1 yard line, 1st and goal, that is a stop from the defensive end. Texas did everything they should have. They ran the correct plays, but we continued to be there and we continue to make stops. This was not given to us. We went out and took it 4 downs in a row. And that shows you how impressive it is. Like, Bobby, we are so aggressive and confident. When was a defense this confident for OU in our history? And I keep saying that. I'm really putting it into a bird's eye perspective. Like, we are in a place and a headspace right now as a football team that we haven't been since, I would even say, like 2008.
Yeah. I mean, it's
I'm not saying we're as good. There's other teams that were better than us after that, but I'm saying in a headspace, because, even those Baker Mayfield and Kyler Murray teams, like, they had their deficiencies on the defensive end, right? We still had some like problems with our confidence, but in terms of what our headspace is with the defensive team, like, it's hard for me to think of another time.
I mean, yeah, it's they just have this swagger, this air to it. If you're watching live on YouTube, I mean, look at the thumbnail I used. Ethan Downs getting in Quinn Ewers' face. They were just all over them, and it's different. When you have that confidence, you have that energy about yourself that you're good. You know what you're doing. It's a total 180 from last year, where they didn't know the system. They didn't know what they were doing. They probably didn't feel good about themselves. This one doesn't feel like that at all. Like, yeah, they're not going to be perfect, but they're going to give this effort and energy that, you have to have confidence on defense, or else you can't perform. It is not football is not a game for people who are timid or meek. You have to be confident. And this defense is absolutely confident, and you just feel that. I'm with you, Jameson. You just feel it.
Yeah, I mean, you all are absolutely right, but it's, I'm a big believer that there's not really a way to trick people into confidence, not in the long term, certainly. Like, yeah, maybe you could have tricked this defense into thinking that they're really, really good, and that would have lasted maybe one drive. Even if by accident you get that interception on that terrible throw, it would not have lasted you through the first quarter. I mean, this confidence is not from, obviously coaching is part of it, but they just understand that they are good, and they understand that if they just go out there and execute, follow the plays, we might give up some here or there. That's the nature of college football, and that's the nature of just sort of football right now, with a lot of the different schemes and everything that people are running. But that confidence to know that if we go out there and just execute what we're supposed to do and do it right, down from just the fundamentals of tackling to carrying out the play to adjusting the play as the offense motions around, that we will carry the day and we will come out with a win, even against a big team like this. I think that's so important, because you just can't. I mean, that's not an Alex Grinch versus Brent Venables or anyone else thing, because a motivational speech before the game will only get you so far. Otherwise, Colorado would have already secured the title.
Right. Well, there you go. I think usually the way we structure these podcasts is we kind of bring up players that we were really impressed of, but kind of like to put a bow on our overweening defensive talk is usually we have certain deficiencies in this defense, but at all levels of this defense, I saw great things. The defensive ends has been a big weak point for us this season, and I've been one of the biggest people clamoring that I'm really concerned about it. Man, did they prove me wrong in a big game. Ethan Downs in this graphic right here, Bobby, absolutely stellar. I've seen it everywhere across all different platforms. His best game as a Sooner. Easily. He just dominated the offensive line. This is not an easy offensive line to dominate. He just out-muscled every single one of those offensive linemen and shown him he's just a grown man. And the way that he changed the whole, we're not used to OU having a pass rush. He changed that. Him and Rondell Bothroyd on the side had absolutely amazing games.
Yeah, and I mean, before the game, like that was one of our, just the entire season, one of our biggest talking points is the D-line isn't getting enough pressure. What's it going to be like when they play an O-line like Texas? And they had their best game of the season against the toughest O-line they've played all year. It was incredibly remarkable. They showed out. Ethan Downs, I mean, have yourself a game, young man. That was absolutely incredible.
Yeah.
And he like Quinn Ewers was not like, he was feeling the pressure all game long. It was very impressive.
We just out-muscled them is what it is. Usually we're concerned because, Rondell Bothroyd and Ethan Downs aren't the fastest end rushers. They aren't. But we just dominated the physicality on the line. Texas's offensive defensive line are so powerful, and to be able to win our defensive line versus their offensive line battle was so huge for this game that it won't get talked about enough.
And I agree. I mean, they definitely like out-muscled them, but I think in a way and I know sometimes people do this, and I get a little annoyed when people use this as kind of the reason why people win things. But OU wanted this more. That defensive line wanted it more. They looked desperate. They looked, like that type of ferocity that, you just can't match. If you can't match it, you're going to lose out. It doesn't matter how strong you are, how many stars you have. If the other guy wants it more than you, he'll blow you off the ball. And I think overall, like across the board, you can tell this OU team really wanted it. OU Texas is a game that both sides usually go into on a different degree. But as we've kind of heard, as post-game coverage has come out and stuff, this is a team that really like had this game circled. Apparently Smitty was having them do 49 medicine ball, like 49 reps of medicine ball workouts
you had to
every Tuesday. Every Tuesday since last year's Red River to signify the 49-0 loss. You could tell this one meant a lot to you, and the D-line's just energy and just they wanted it. They just went ahead and kicked their ass. It was incredible.
Yeah, I think beyond that, I do, you touched on coaching in terms of physical preparation, but I think especially when it comes to the D-line's ability to rush and put pressure, we really saw, the effect of all of that planning prior to, especially when it comes to watching tape. I mean, obviously you can't just, the D-line has the same sort of goal every play, but you can't just try to rush everyone every single play. Like, it makes sense on paper, why don't we just everyone blitz every single snap? But there is a sort of a perfect amount of pressure and then backing off and coverage and everything else. It seems like we dialed up just the perfect amount of pressure. And I think I saw Timothy mentioning it in the chat here a few minutes ago. Just pressure on the quarterback really caused us to do well. And I think we took Texas sort of off guard. You could tell that when it came down to watching tape, preparing, reading what the other team was going to do and then preparing for it on both sides of the ball, our defense matched up against their offense. We were very, very, very well prepared when it came to the game plan and when it came to dialing up just the exact perfect amount of pressure to put on Ewers in the perfect moments. as the game went on, snap after snap after snap after snap, we just, obviously we gave up 30 points. We gave up over 500 yards, but that's that bend but don't break. And we were I don't think we could have played any better when it came to the game plan against this Texas offense. And you really saw that. And just, again, shout out to the coaching there, from the physical preparation to that. We just seemed so well coached on the defense, and like we touched on, so much buy-in, so much belief. It's really amazing to see.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
the interior of the D line played so well too. Like we're shouting out, Bothroyd and Ethan Downs because they got a lot of the plays. Dude, Jacob Lacey looked good. He's just been such a quiet killer this season. Isaiah Coe, great game. Let me tell you something. I could not stop seeing Jordan Kelly. And whenever you have a guy that big in the middle of your defensive line and he is showing up all over your screen, another really great game. And I'm going to keep on saying, like, Dejon Terry, like, he got hurt, but other than that, he was out there just destroying people. He was moving and getting to exactly where you want. Whenever you have him, the biggest guy on the field most of the time, out there just moving people, man, I'm just so proud of this defensive line because I've just been so worried about them in terms of our ceiling as a football team. And if we play like that in big games, obviously we only have pretty much one big game for the rest of the season. And that's the Big 12 championship game. If we get more play like that, when the Big 12 championship game comes, I'm not trying to be that guy that jinx it, but it looks like it at the point where something would have to go drastically wrong in today's Big 12 if we don't make the Big 12 championship game. I feel very good about our defensive line unit now compared to how I felt last week.
Yeah. I mean, if they have to stay focused and they have to keep bringing it every week after week, but I mean, I don't see two losses on the remainder of the schedule between now and December 2nd. I mean, look, it's college football; anything can happen. But let's just be real. I don't know. I see like maybe two teams that can beat us, but I don't think we lose to either of them. I think Kansas poses challenges, and I think West Virginia, and that's like it, and that's saying something. Because we're
at Kansas, which is scary because Kansas has been kind of sneaky at home, but we have West Virginia at home.
Yeah, we should win both of those games. Like like both of those games should be OU wins. But I'm not saying those are like the games that I have in question. The rest, I think OU clears pretty easily.
Mm-hmm.
If they show up with intention and effort, and don't sleepwalk. You could get beat by anyone if you sleepwalk, obviously. But yeah. Anyways, we can talk a little bit more about that later.
We do game balls for defense.
I wanted to bring up Jaren Kanak.
Oh yeah, he was all over the field, and he's just got so much speed.
Yeah, I mean he was excellent. Stutzman, I mean he wasn't bad or anything, but I think of the two, Kanak was just remarkable.
Stutzman did better than Kanak, but still, that's just Stutzman.
Yeah, okay, sure, fine. I mean, I feel like Kanak kind of lost a little bit of steam towards the end, but I mean early on he was all over the place. It was great.
He definitely had one of his. I think maybe the middle grounds here, in my opinion, is Stutzman went out and he performed the game that he always performs, whereas I think Kanak had a really, really good performance. Statistically, I think one of his best performances, actually maybe his best performance, especially if you adjust for competition that he's ever had. So
that's fair. I think Ty is correct. Actually, has the perfect take there. That's probably right. But yeah, let's move on to game balls, Jameson. Who do you like?
This one has been tough for me because I want to be different, but you just can't. It's Ethan Downs. There's no one else you can talk about. I mean, I would give Billy Bowman a slight, nod here as an option, but Ethan Downs, the way he changed this game at a position of need, Billy Bowman is already a strength that we identify in the safety room. We have guys out there making plays, and it's still great that he's making plays, but the defensive end position, we needed someone to come out there and make big time plays, and he did it. As simple as that. Ethan Downs is the definite game ball for this.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and go with Billy Bowman for my defensive game ball. I mean, I kind of wish I could do it for the secondary as a whole, because I just want to touch on, I'll give it to Bowman, but I do want to mention that for basically everything but maybe the last 10 minutes of the game, Texas's receivers were just kind of almost nowhere to be found. Obviously, they had that tight end that just had like the Harry Potter invisibility
JT
cloak on
Sanders.
every time he went out on the field and would just completely be uncovered. And we would be like, oh, how did that,
Oh, no, that was Gunnar
6'5"
Helm.
guy end up with the
Sanders
ball
wasn't
right in the
healthy, I
middle of the
don't
field? Yeah, but I'll give it to Billy Bowman.
I think that's a good pick, and I think it's lame to say this, but I think it really was the whole defense as a unit.
Oh, Bobby.
I'm not actually going to do that.
He said, I think this is going to be lame. I was like, oh, he's just going to say,
No,
Ethan
it's
Downs.
as a unit, it was.
We went out. They went out there and they executed and they played well. They put their head down and put their foot in the dirt and they played hard. Come on, Bobby. Give me some takes.
I'm going to give takes. I just want to talk about this. Let me talk about it. So look, it just the whole defense just played so complementary to each other. It just worked. Ty, what were you saying earlier? I'm sorry.
Oh, I was just gonna say, can I mulligan mine?
Where are you gonna mulligan?
I'll let you finish yours.
Okay. Yeah. No. I mean it just as a whole, it's hard to pick standouts because everyone played their role perfectly. Everyone stepped up. I'm gonna give it to Kamek. I feel like just over what he normally does. It was a standout performance. Obviously not perfect. I think he had some lulls here and there, but overall, it showed me a sign that look, this guy is going to be really, really good down the line once he gets more games like this in his belt. I think next year he will be just insanely elite. But just an incredible performance given that he hasn't really gotten a ton of big game experiences. I mean, he popped into Red River last year, but it was a disaster at that point. So I'm going to give it to Kanek because, you can't give it to the full unit. But the whole defense just played remarkable. It's hard to pick one.
Yeah, so I'm actually gonna mulligan mine. I'm gonna change up on it. My OU defensive game ball has to go to Quinn Ewers, easily the most overrated quarterback since De'Aaron King, who was robbed of the Heisman several years, I will say. But yeah, I do not understand the hype of Quinn Ewers. Have to get our jabs in even in victory. But I don't understand the hype beyond the turnovers in this one because that fumble, I don't know that there's anyone could have done anything about that. Like if you just have a tackle that perfect, like it's probably going to come out. The first interception, that was 100% on him. I don't know what was going on there, but I just
he had one read and he didn't want to throw that, and you could see it in his follow through. He was halfway through and he was just like, "Oh, this is miserable."
Yeah, and look, I'm with.
He's like the Mac Jones of college football.
Hey, it's a legend right there.
And I will say, Teddy Lehman got a lot of smoke on Twitter for saying that he's like, I think Quinn Ewers just isn't that remarkable, and I think he was right. He's just kind of okay.
He's good. He's a good quarterback. He played a good defense, and he struggled for a little bit of it, but still showed some good things. Let's not walk it back and say he's not good.
I'm not saying he's not good. I just said he's not great. There's a difference between being good and great.
What's your definition of great?
Great is being able to essentially perform outside of just the offense, transcend that. Yeah, but not all the time.
Not all the time. Great players.
I mean, it's like every time. It's like basically every time.
The exceptional players will do that every single game. That's like you can only name like 2 or 3 of those guys on the offensive side of the ball in college football right now.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's good. I just don't think he's just not great to me. I don't know. He has inconsistent moments where he's, just not great. He doesn't have that air of greatness to me. He has a couple moments. Look, and I'll go ahead and say it too. I don't think Dillon Gabriel is great. He has moments of being great, but he is not great overall. He's just pretty good. I think Quinn Ewers is also pretty good.
Yeah, they're the same conversation. I think Dillon Gabriel and Quinn Ewers are in the same tier.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's right. I promise I would not say anything bad about Dillon Gabriel.
Here he goes. Come on. You have to atone for your sins.
Which we did. But saying that Quinn Ewers and Dillon Gabriel are in the same conversation is the biggest jab at Quinn Ewers that I've ever heard anyone say ever, because he's supposed to be like a god tier Caleb Williams Heisman level. Going to be the next Tom Brady when he goes. I know he's not. That's my whole point. Some are saying Some are saying that he is. I'm saying he's not.
Yeah, I think people are going a little too far with the Gabriel Heisman hype. I think he had a hell of a performance.
No, I was talking about yours.
Yours? No, I'm with you. I'm with you. I don't think yours is on that level. I've stated that for a good while that I don't think he's quite there. Yeah, no, I think they're in kind of the same tier. But on Saturday, Dillon Gabriel was a legend. Absolute incredible performance from him. And this is what we call a segue in the industry, folks. So yeah, 23 for 30, 38, 285 passing yards. But where he really made the difference was through the running game. 14 carries, 113 rushing yards, 2 overall touchdowns, and then that obviously just remarkable final drive. He just smooth operator. Getting us just operating that entire drive. It was unreal. It was by far his best game in an OU uniform. Second week in a row, we've said that really. And he just looks more and more confident. It looks like I don't want to say a totally different quarterback, but the biggest issue with Gabriel last year was his inability to handle pressure in big moments. And he just doesn't have that fear anymore about him. I don't think. Because he was pressured a lot. Like, the Texas D line was in the backfield quite a bit, but the way he handled it, the way, when he knew that pocket was collapsing, to just squeak through at the right time instead of getting sacked or panicking and making that one little hesitation that he would last year that would end up getting him hit or fumbling or whatever. He didn't do that. He stepped up and made the plays when he needed to make the plays. And that is, to me, the biggest sign of growth from this year to last year.
Ty, I need you. Bit aside. No bits. Just truth straight from your brain. And I want truth. Mm-hmm. Do you believe in Dillon Gabriel as Oklahoma's quarterback? Do you believe that he's going to be a successful quarterback for us this season that you believe in?
Do you need a one-word answer? Can you get can I explain?
I would love a yes or a no and then an explanation, please.
Yes, because I have seen that he is not the problem, right? Here's how I think about Dillon Gabriel, and this is not a bit. This is a serious analogy. It's the best way that I can think of describing it, right? If I want to go to, I don't know, New York City for New Year's Eve, and watch the ball drop and whatever else. People still do that, right?
Mm-hmm.
I would like to take a private jet there, but if United is going to get me there in economy class, the thing that matters is that I get there, right? Dillon Gabriel, he might be like an economy class. He's not like Spirit. He's not like Spirit or something. But he's good enough. He's good enough to get you there. Okay, but he's still not a private jet. He's still not a private jet.
Put him in first class at least.
Yeah.
Yes, but you're still on essentially a bus, right? You're still on with people who went to Oklahoma State and they're seeing ghosts in the background and everything else, right? You get there, you think it's good, but here's the thing: OU fans are used to private jets, and that's why they don't think first class.
I get where you're going at here, but then essentially the luxury drop off to the common folk is too big of a drop for this analogy to be good. But what I'm getting from you, Ty, is you're saying that this is a good option for you that is doing what we need to do.
He is,
but he's not a Heisman, which we've always known.
He is as perfect as you can hope, or he's as perfect as you can expect from a college football quarterback when he gets to play within his skill set. And that's why I think, and not just his skill set, but his talent his specific little use box that he's perfect in, which is why if Dillon Gabriel ever has issues in a game going forward beyond just pure stupidity, I will 100% think that it's Levy's fault if we're trying to use him outside. Look at how we used him in this game, right? How many big deep balls did we try to throw with him? We had one that was a bit of a gamble. It paid off for us. And then other than that, we had some deep shots.
We had the Jaden Gibson one.
Yeah, that's what I just mentioned. Yeah, but we had some deep shots. They weren't
I can think of two.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, but like we weren't trying that all the time like you would with maybe different quarterbacks. Like we were employing him, we were setting up our scheme to where he would have the protection and the time and the plays to make the plays with the receivers that he has chemistry with in the situations that he has. And I mean, really, you can't expect the world out of every quarterback, right? You couldn't try to employ, Kyler Murray like you do Jalen Hurts, to use an OU example. But yet, in short, I've gone long on this. Yes, I think Dillon Gabriel is good enough to get this team, deservingly or not, to the college football playoff.
Mm-hmm. I think we just got to
The
stop
only
talking
because
about
of our
Pascal,
schedule, right?
quarterback.
Yeah, just
Simple as that.
just bury it. It's yeah.
Well, yeah, that's what happens, right? If you're flying on private jets and then all of a sudden you're in first class on Delta, you kind of got to forget that you used to fly on private jets, that you can appreciate the free champagne, the Corbel. But
ultimately, that's
thirsty.
That's the thing, though. Dillon Gabriel is a good quarterback. He is a difference maker when you put him in. Is he going to be the best quarterback we ever have? No, but
he's still going to get you there, right? You guys are ignoring that part. Right, you guys are ignoring that part of the analogy. He's still going to get you there,
right? But at the end of the day, like, there's no question about it that he is the right quarterback right now, over Jackson Arnold, over anybody. That conversation is dead, gone, over.
Yes,
over.
Okay, yeah, but you guys are coming at me like I said that, like, I think like week 2. Right. I said, okay, I see that Gabriel is the right answer above Arnold.
Yeah,
but
yeah,
again, Levy sees Arnold and he thinks he's a fullback. So I don't really know what's going on.
That was just a bad take that they scrapped, thankfully.
Yeah, and I understand. Like, here's the thing: the takes on Dillon Gabriel from last year, he wasn't quite there. He's not. That was this quarterback that we're seeing, that we saw on Saturday, not the same quarterback we saw last year. He's improved. He's gotten better. One thing is definitely for sure is he is absolutely the right guy right now, for sure. Incredible big time performance there. And I don't want to dismiss it at all. He won us the game. Like, we talked, or he, like, without that performance, we wouldn't have won the game, obviously, because you need that to do it. But he was the offense. He completely powered every facet of this, and obviously there's a lot of contrast to last year where he wasn't available and we were completely useless. But it was just an unreal overall performance from Gabriel. Just great. What do you think, Jameson?
Yeah, let's play a little game. Let's make some tiers of quarterbacks in college football. So obviously Caleb Williams is in a tier by himself, right? Then what would you say? I don't think there's anyone on the same tier as Caleb Williams. I think you can talk Michael Penix maybe, but he's not nearly as close. No. I think Caleb Williams is by himself. The next tier below that, I'd say Michael Penix is in that tier. I would say
Jackson Arnold.
I would say Drake May is in that tier. And then after that, Bo Nix maybe.
Bo Nix is not. No.
I would say Bo Nix would be on the next tier, in the same tier as Dillon Gabriel.
Yes. Bo Nix and Dillon Gabriel are exactly the same, except the one gets to play Pac-12 teams and has a massive, this is not even a bit, has a massive like PR push behind him to make people think he's the next coming of God. I've seen Bo Nix play many games. He is not. This season,
don't what you know about Bo Nix of the past. Throw that away. Think Bo Nix these seasons.
Yeah. I mean, you have to throw.
He's getting a bunch of hype because he tore apart Colorado.
I mean, he's just been doing everything he's supposed to do this season. Yeah. I think that Dillon Gabriel is in the same tier as Bo Nix, Dillon Gabriel, Jordan Travis, and Quinn Ewers. I think are in that next tier.
No joke.
I wouldn't put JJ McCarthy there because I just don't believe in him that much, but I feel like that's the cutoff. Do y'all agree there?
Dillon Gabriel's legitimately better than Bo Nix.
And I think that's a
I think maybe OU loses this game with Bo Nix. Because Bo Nix, I think, thinks that he is the like god at quarterback. It just doesn't perform the way that Dillon Gabriel did. But because I could go on hater hypotheticals all day.
Yeah, I think that's fair. And I mean, Gabriel playing within himself and knowing what to do. Yeah, that definitely does help. But I would agree with that. I think on his best days, the Dillon Gabriel we saw, last Saturday against Iowa State, if he keeps being that, if that is the rule rather than the exception, then yeah, absolutely. But look, if we don't see another
OU
SMU or Cincinnati game like from him, we'll be great.
Yeah, to put it in OU terms, he has achieved Landry Jones status for me. Right? He's not.
That's great.
He's not with Bradford. He's not with OU Baker. He's not with Kyler. He's not with Jalen. But I think he has firmly cemented himself Landry Jones status, putting him obviously above Trevor Knight, Blake Bell, Super Bowl champion Blake Bell. So, that maybe has to be taken into account. But,
2-time Super Bowl champ, right?
Yes. Best quarterback on that team both times, I will add. But, you can just you could plug Dillon Gabriel into that team, they'd win the Super Bowl. So you could maybe even plug Bo Nix into that team and they'd win the Super Bowl.
I'd still put Landry above Dillon Gabriel just for longevity standpoint, but still, I think that's quite the compliment. Let's move on. Yeah, right. Honestly, too, there's a lot of anger and happiness that goes along with Landry Jones memories in my head. But let's move on. Let's just kind of talk about the rest of the offense. Do we have anything to say about the run game? Because I think it just really was what we thought it was. And you could tell by the way Jeff Lebby played this that he did not believe in his running backs. We've seen it, and it's absolutely reinforced. Dillon Gabriel getting 14 carries, like you see on this graphic, Bobby, showed in how many QB design runs and how many times he pulled the ball away from running backs shows that our running backs just ain't it. Yeah, Tolly Walker's a bowling ball whenever we get in short yardage situations, but who's going to get a breakaway, carry that's going to put us, 20 yards down the field? You're going to get that once every couple games. It's just we don't really have that breakaway speed playmaker can take a couple cuts and make a play anymore, and it's going to have to be Dillon Gabriel for the rest of the season.
I need to go into, some of the stats, because was that Gabriel 44-yard run like the longest run of the season? Because it kind of felt like it.
I don't think we've had a running back run that long.
Yeah, I mean,
I'll do it while y'all talk.
That Tolly Walker one that got called back.
Yeah,
I think
that one would have been more for sure, but like you said, it got called back sadly. Which I know we're capable of doing it, and I think you're right. Like, clearly, at this point, it is what it is. There's not going to be a running back that pops up out of nowhere and fixes everything. I will say Tolly Walker, clearly the best running back on the team. I thought he was excellent given, his circumstances and everything. But he's not Adrian Peterson, DeMarco Murray, etc. He's not a feature back in the similar sense as we had in the past. Our number one rushing option is our quarterback.
Yeah, which is not, again, and I'm not trying to be anti-Dillon Gabriel, but this is supposed to be more directed at the running backs. Dillon Gabriel is not a running, like what you would think of as a traditional run threat. He's just very good at reading, again, playing within his skill set box. And when something's open that is going to be better than attempting to throw the pass, he's very good at making that read. And that's why he can create these situations. But yeah, I think we did learn something from this game finally, because I don't think that you can say like, oh, but it's just Texas. This is a very good Texas team. This is a Texas team that very well still could be. I think they're very firmly still in playoff contention, especially looking at some of these other teams this year. I mean, Ohio State not looking great. Georgia, having taken a step back. I don't think Michigan is all that great. Who knows with what's going on in the pack, but this Texas team, the path has been laid out for them if we face them again in the Big 12 championship and they come and win by 2 touchdowns, which I don't think will happen, but they're not eliminated whatsoever. But we saw against, a world-class opponent, so to speak, that Tolly Walker is a better option, because I think we saw the same thing that we've seen against every other opponent from our running backs again, which is weird. But we're seeing a consistent product no matter who we play. Tolly Walker, I think, is just slightly better, mostly because I think he's much better at yards after contact. Really, I started to notice that in this game was Marcus Major. We kept making all these jokes about world record for most 0-yard carries. And it's because, there's not a whole lot of yards after contact, whereas Tolly, I think, is just slightly better at that, even if he is slower, which I think is maybe why Marcus was getting RB1 looks earlier on in the season, because obviously if you're not doing full force hits and everything else in practice, someone can look a little bit better, and then you find out in the game that one is better. Tawee Walker also was pretty good from the air in this one, mostly because he was able to run over or just take advantage of Texas' secondary.
That
that was a little bit.
It was a low ball. It was a low ball. It was a
low
hard
ball.
You
But
have
you
to
still
when you can
yeah,
get both hands on it without breaking your stride. That's my metric for like, he touched it with both hands without having to break his stride. You have to catch that. That's
I will say this. There is probably about a 50% chance in my head that if he would have caught that, he would have fell down because it was too low. And we had 2 seconds left. That could have been bad. Like I did the math. Not the math. I didn't do any math. I went back through the stats. I don't know what I'm saying, guys. Math. I'm just my brain's turning off. So we hadn't had a 20+ yard gain even from Dillon Gabriel in the past 3 games. Nothing over 20. And then the longest run by a running back this season was Tawee had a 30-yard run in the SMU game. And now that I see that, I remember it. So, yes, we don't have explosion from our running backs. It's as simple as that. But maybe it just comes down to like the interior of our offensive line. It just aren't really creating the holes the offense needs. I saw Marcus Major miss on a lot of holes, to be honest. It was really kind of disappointing. But I think we've got something to be concerned about for the rest of the season, because McKay Matire, even though people like to dog on him, he's been solid the whole year. Had an air cast come out for his probably a broken ankle, from what I'm assuming. Anytime you see someone get put in an air cast, they're pretty sure it's broken. So he should be out for the season. Savion Byrd, I don't know where he is after this concussion. Is it a concussion? I really don't know. Does anyone have any inside knowledge on this situation? Because I can't find anything on it.
Is this a Mike McDaniel's concussions aren't real thing, or
no? I think that there's obviously, we know with Savion Byrd behind the scenes, there's some things that in terms of his character, I'm not going to say character, that might not be the right word. And there's some things in terms of his, help me out with the word here, not demeanor. Work ethic, but
Marcus Major straight
demeanor.
Up forgot to register for classes one year.
Well, so. That's different. That's different. Savion Byrd's demeanor has raised some red flags. And whenever we were down on the guards, we were shuffling people in, still didn't see Caden. We still didn't see Savion. Caden Green saved it at left guard because Troy Everett was just too small for guys like T'Vondre Sweat. You know, we're going to have, both of those guys. I think Savion Byrd needs to come back in and re-implement himself now that we don't have McKay Matire, because we need his strength in a way to move defensive linemen more than ever, because I don't know if we can handle it if Caleb Schaefer and Troy Everett are offensive guards.
Right. Because, like Everett is, he's just the proper center, and that's, at some point that size, I don't think we'll have that issue against a lot of other Big 12 teams. They're not as big as Texas, obviously. But what we're definitely going to need Savion Byrd's strength there. Like I don't know if it's a demeanor thing, if it's a low motor thing,
I think it's the low motor there. That's a better way to say
like
it.
The Perry Jones low motor.
There you go. That's it. That's what I was looking for. Now we're clicking.
There we go.
I
think
folks, that's a great analogy. So I bet you Caden Green probably is going to get the look at left guard for the rest of the season. The way he played in this game, he completely shifted things, because Troy Everett was getting beasted. Troy Everett's very good technically, but the thing is, playing with the big boys versus Texas, we knew he was going to get eaten for lunch. It's as simple as that. Whenever you come from Appalachian State, you can do that kind of stuff. But here versus Texas, versus, their whole defensive line and middle linebackers were just absolute studs in high school, studs in college, and absolute monsters of human beings. We just can't have that. So I would not be surprised to see Caden Green play a lot more, if not be the starting left guard for the rest of the season.
Look, sometimes the best way to get experience is to just be thrown into the fire.
Good.
And that's going to be the case with Caden Green. And look, he's shown he's capable, I think. And like, he's had a little bit of experience to kind of ease him in, but I'm comfortable throwing him in there, as a true freshman. If he's performing like this, I'm in.
They believe in him.
It's probably going to get easier from here in terms of your competition. I don't. Are we going to see a tougher defensive line than Texas or Cincinnati?
No.
Even? No,
No chance. We'll see Texas a second time. That's what it's going to be.
Probably, yeah. It's going to be Texas again in December, and like McCabe Tyler is probably not coming back. That was probably the last snap of his career, maybe. Just given how the severity of it, like you could kind of see the blood from the upper deck, so it's pretty bad stuff. But anyways, yeah, that's definitely something to keep an eye on as the season progresses. Is seeing who comes in and fills that gap, because Matire, look, again, he got kind of trashed throughout the season. People were upset when he got the starting job, but he was a serviceable, solid player for OU, and we're gonna miss him a bit. So yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Let's talk about wide receivers. How about your boy Drake Stoops? You got something? Come on, hit us.
There's
with
a perfect segue, really, between the line and the wide receivers. Something that Jameson, I think, has to apologize for. In fact, the tight end play.
Okay.
I don't know if that's an apology.
I don't know
because
Jameson.
I think
Jameson
just showed up.
Finally. 0 receptions from the tight ends as an average throughout the season, something like that.
He had 3 catches for 24 yards. Why do I have to apologize for that?
He did have a bad drop too.
He played good. He did, but the thing is, he's playing like so many snaps. He's playing like 90+% of the snaps every single game. Congratulations, Stogner. You got 3 catches for 24. I still wish that we're playing, Nick Anderson in that position with Jalil Farouk and Andrew Anthony on the side with Drake Stoops in the slot and just play 4 wide.
Well, I mean, you need Stogner as a blocker, but
it adds more versatility to your offense. When you're playing a tempo offense, you could have Austin Stogner be an extra blocker in the run package wherever the defense can't sub. I see why they do it. I really do see why they do it. It just does handicap us a little in the passing attack.
I was going to say, I'm not going to say anything negative about Dillon Gabriel.
Okay.
But I know that Stogner is never option 1 on plays. Do you know how hard it is to get a single reception, let alone 3, as not the first look in a Dillon Gabriel offense?
I feel like
what you're saying.
I see what you're saying. I feel like Stogner was pretty solid.
I think he was the first look in every reception that he had.
Yeah, I see what you're trying to get at here. You're trying to get under my skin. I'm just still upset with the tight end play this season.
It's not where it needs to be, but it was like
this is
a small sign of life. It was a sign of life.
All joking aside,
kind of still exists.
All joking aside, this was not where it needs to be. I know they've had touchdowns before. I think this was the best game that we've had from tight ends all season, just on the fact that they got more than 1 reception.
I agree.
Congratulations, tight ends. Here's your medal.
I agree. Low bar, but I agree. I will say, one thing you mentioned about tempo, Jameson, I thought our tempo completely threw Texas off. They did not know how to play.
They knew it was coming. They just couldn't keep up.
Yeah, no, not at all. They struggled mightily with that. But
poor Tavondre Sweat. I saw him just he was like, that event where you can't jog, but you got to do the speed walking. I saw him.
I know that.
Walking down the field one time when an offensive player got by him, he was doing or maybe like the lineman jog. Whenever you're supposed to run around the track and you can't walk, but you have those people all the way far, like 200 meters down the track. You see them making the movements of a run, but it's not really a run. Like Tavondre Sweat was gassed. Like he was truly sweating.
I was gonna say running, but like you're in a dream running, and you just can't you're giving it all.
There's something there.
Open it. Just try to do it, man. That's so funny. Oh man. But yeah, no, I thought it was a solid game from the receivers. Farouk, man, what a performance from him.
He's such a player.
Yeah. One thing Ty brings up all the time, and I fully subscribe to it, is you never really know who the first option is going to be. This was what's that?
We're going to go and better be a number WR2.
No, because I can't. I'm not going to make that one this pod because OU legitimately doesn't have a WR1 right now. So
it's a WR1 by committee, and that's fine. And Farouk stepped up and showed like all of that promise that we've been hyping and wanting, and he was excellent. I really liked Farouk there. But yeah, let's talk about Drake Stoops. Mr. Reliable, always there when you need him. Obviously, massive part of that last touchdown drive, just completely eating Texas alive. I guarantee. I'll say this: he doesn't get enough credit for his time at OU Texas. But if I was a Texas fan, I'd be so glad that this guy is not coming back. Like he's done. Like his 6 years are up, because Drake Stoops consistently has been a thorn in their side.
Yeah, it's honestly, I mean, it's just Jordan Shipley, essentially. It's Jordan Shipley, just like, the way he just is consistently would just get catch after catch after catch versus us in OU Texas games. Drake Stoops for them is he gets consistent catch after catch after catch. Absolute thorn.
Yeah, for sure. And on the point of Drake Stoops, if I remember right, our game-winning drive was, 4 receptions? 2 of those were Drake Stoops. And that's where basically all of his yards came from. So I really thought we were about to see a Drake Stoops sort of. I mean, I think he was one of the heroes of the game, but I kind of wanted to save this bit for last. But Nick Anderson, like, this could not have been more of a setting it up for a sequel, like post credits scene. The fact that the young guy, the OU lineage, the next generation of great OU receivers following in, I would put Drake Stoops up there. Following in Drake Stoops, CeeDee Lamb, Hollywood Brown, even going back to sort of our generation and everything else. Like he's following in those footsteps of those great receivers, and you could not have scripted a better sort of passing the torch of the receivers, especially like, what was it? Farouk gets the first catch, Drake Stoops gets the next couple. And then, the way it was on TV, I don't know, Bobby, if you were able to watch the TV highlights, but Nick Anderson was almost out of the screen. Like the way his route developed, you didn't really see him until the end. And Jameson, you probably saw this too.
He ran into Stogner.
When he threw that pass, I thought he was throwing it away to sort of Stogner up there. And then all of a sudden Nick Anderson has it. And I was like, where did he come from? And it was a perfectly executed play and everything. It was just the cameraman or the camera angle they took was a little confused by it.
Same thing.
Real time. I was like, okay, we're going to go to overtime. Like, I don't like this, but it's whatever. And then all of a sudden Nick Anderson had the ball. It was like a perfectly executed, I can't even describe the level of sort of Easter egg, almost to have him win the game and be sort of the passing of the torch.
So first off, remember in the OU Texas preview, I said he had the chance of being a legend, and he got the one. He put the final dagger in.
Well, I will say, and not to discredit your take, Bobby, but I think that in the OU Texas preview, we were thinking that he was going to have another multi-touchdown game.
It was not that at all.
I thought he was going to have like a 7-8 targets, 100 yards, 2 touchdowns is what I sort of would have guessed his stat line to be. He was just non-existent. And then 1 reception, 1 touchdown, the game winner, was absolutely insane. But like, Bobby, your sort of backdoor cover on that take was could not have been more perfect.
It's like if in Game of Thrones they decided to make Bran Stark king, you don't think about that, and then like, oh wait, I guess there you go, there he is. Who would do that? Who would do that?
That's just a disappointment, though, an anchor.
No, this was that twist, but fun. It was a good twist, but fun.
This is a tie level analogy here.
No, I was saying he showed up out of nowhere. That's what I wasn't saying it was bad. Like, it was great. I loved it.
I don't even get the take. I've never seen Game of Thrones.
It's okay, Ty. You don't need to hear
it's okay.
It's
we can move on.
Horrible
okay,
analogy.
Can I do want to say though,
it would be like
Look, the way I watched it though was, first of all, panicked, freaking out, watching Gabriel, and you see him throw it, and then just kind of following the ball, and then there he is, and you're just seeing it. You're like, oh God, he's gonna catch it. Catches it. Immediately turned to my wife, and it's just pandemonium, man. It was unreal. Surreal experience. We have that corner is good luck. That's the same corner that I'm blanking so bad. Kennedy Brooks housed that touchdown to beat Texas a couple years ago.
That was yummy.
Delightful stuff. But
Yeah.
just what a catch. Just such great stuff.
Yeah, I was gonna say I haven't felt this. This maybe is a weird sort of analogy. I haven't felt that way about an OU play, like have given up hope and then just been so stunned by an OU play since like the money cut touchdown reception in Bedlam. And that wasn't even the same level of stakes. Like it was just the way that entire thing ended was just, like I keep saying, it could not have been scripted any better for, passing the torch. Obviously, we're going to have to face the Dragon of Texas again, I think, later in the season in December, which again, this has been my take all year. Just what is the funniest possible thing that could occur? I started that take with, Colorado beating TCU was the funniest possible way for the season to open, and then that occurred. The funniest possible thing would, of course, be OU and Texas in the Big 12 championship. At that point, I hope with every fiber of my being that OU wins. But as long as it's us in the game, however it turns out in the long run, it'll still be okay.
It's worth it just for Brett Yormark to wake up knowing that he has to give one of us the trophy.
Yeah, no way that happens.
He has to be there.
The best part
I doubt it. He's not.
Could you imagine how bad it would be if he didn't show up to his own conference's championship game, Jameson?
I really think there could be a possibility.
No
he's been so. No, I don't. I think he's going to do something really petty though.
I mean, surely, but he can't not show up.
He'll be in the suite and never show up.
The funniest possible thing. The funniest possible thing would be if the TV times worked out to where Greg Sankey could come to the game and be spotted sideline. He would not get to hand out the trophy or anything, but the level of trolling to that is unmatched. If the SEC commissioner could come see his two new teams.
Sadly, I think that's
sideline pass for both.
If the SEC one, it's probably 2:30 like it always is. We know the Big 12 one's at 11 a.m. because of course it is.
Woo!
Dude, even if he could just show up like for the first quarter of the game and then hop on a jet out of Dallas and make it to Atlanta, like it's possible, right? It would be the funniest. I need to start DMing Greg Sankey and get him to.
Greg Sankey like rappels down from the Jerry World roof to
the Bulls intro music.
Let's put a bow on this offense by giving game balls and calling it a pod. Game ball offensive wise, it's Dillon Gabriel. It's the easy answer. It's the right answer. The way he led that last minute drive, the way he made big plays whenever he needed to, especially on his legs. Did he make every throw perfectly? No. That's fine. He made the plays that he needed to whenever he was put up on that pedestal. And you've got to be absolutely over the moon that we have a guy that's playing to the level that he is this season. He's stepped up. He's became a leader. And he's not afraid anymore. And like you said at the beginning of the podcast, Bobby, we needed that so much out of him. And I believe in him as our fearless leader.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's Gabriel. He was the offense across the board, orchestrated everything, stepped up when we needed him to step up, made plays when we needed him to make plays. And he was unshaken by all of it. And I for a guy to just step into an OU Texas like that, it's for his first go, unreal. Incredible stuff from DG. Game ball, absolutely incredible stuff. He's an OU Texas legend now. We will be talking about this guy forever because of that play, because of his play in this game. That's the stuff that legends are made of. That performance.
Yeah, Dillon Gabriel will not play in a game bigger than this until a couple years from now when he's on the practice squad at Tampa Bay and gets to play against Baker before he's cut preseason. But
wow, that's impressive.
I have to give it to you, right? Here's how I think of. I was kind of hoping for a bigger reaction.
You want to pick Stogner.
Okay, that would be.
I will end you.
That would not be the funniest thing. The funniest thing would maybe be trying to justify some sort of like Greg Sankey is the game ball or
Ty's
giving it to like
thinking so
one of-
hard to find a reason not to pick DG.
No, I'm not, right? I have a legitimate or trying to give it to one of the food items or something like that. The Fruity
Biscoff
Pebble
delight.
pickle gets the game ball. It was robbed of its moment in the sun. Look, I've been doing game balls, and I've shown my cards. I've shown my hand a couple times this season, but I have a bit of a different strategy with some of the game balls, and I want to use them, like I said, like investments. Like you guys said, right? Dillon Gabriel is by far the top dog. I think he's the MVP of the game, but I think about game balls like investments. Dillon Gabriel, he's at the highest his stock price will ever be, I think. Maybe it goes a little bit higher, $5-10 higher when he wins the Big 12 championship against Texas again, and we'll see what happens after that. But I think a guy that you can, and I've said this earlier, if you're looking at someone's stock price, I tried to sort of invest in the stock price a little bit earlier in the season. Obviously not when he was already on people's radars, but Nick Anderson again. And the way I think about it is, if I say that I'm going to be like, this guy is the next like big dude, and I give him a game ball and he turns out to be a bust, maybe no one's going to remember. But if he does turn out to be really good, then I can always point back to this. So once again, I'm going to go with Nick Anderson. I understand that it was 1 reception, 1 touchdown. Dillon Gabriel, right, was the MVP of the game, but my game ball is going to go to Nick Anderson.
Okay.
Okay.
I would have came at you if you wouldn't have said that MVP thing.
I get that. He made a big play. He made the big play when he.
I would argue that Nick Anderson's stock is extremely high right now, and it's been high for the past couple weeks. And I don't think.
But a couple weeks ago, I gave him a game ball against the grain as well. So I'm sort of increasing my position that I had already established in the Nick Anderson stock.
That's fair. Sure. That's fair.
And to be fair, to my credit, I did shout out Nick Anderson as one of the potential ones. Just because I have a bit of a history with Rodney and wanted to see him do well. So
yeah, Rodney's a good dude, man. Great dude. But anyways, let's wrap this thing up. So, look, going into a bye week, a great time for that. I love it. Kind of like we get a bit of an intermission in the season, after just a thrilling, into the first half. And before we go, I want to ask, what is the ceiling of this team? What next? What realistically can this Oklahoma team accomplish?
That's a great question. And it really comes down to, I think they can, I'm pretty sure that they can make the college football playoffs, because pretty much all it is if they just do what they're supposed to do, and then they win another big one in the Big 12 championship game. The question is, can they go farther than that? Can they win a playoff game? And I look at the rest of the college football atmosphere right now, and if we go undefeated, we should be the number 2 seed in college football.
Correct.
And that should make us avoid a Georgia. And Georgia showed versus Kentucky that they're just the same old Georgia. After that, actually, you know what? There'd be maybe we might be the 3.
Yeah,
I think we might not be. What I'm saying is we're not going to be the 4 if we make the
right
undefeated. That's what I'm trying to get at, because Michigan, would be the 2.
The fact that the winner, Ohio State, Michigan, they don't have to replay that one because they have divisions. Mm-hmm. The Big Ten bias is going to put them at 2, I think, maybe even 1. I think
obviously I'm biased, but I think beating Texas twice is better than beating Ohio State versus.
Well, if Ohio State beats Michigan, right, I think Ohio State can hang their hat on. I don't know.
I get the argument. I think we'd be number 3. What I was trying to get out at that point, which I didn't communicate well enough, is I don't think we're going to be 4. And I think that we have a legitimate chance versus a team like Michigan or Ohio State. So I think our ceiling is a national championship appearance right now.
In Houston, which would be
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, at that point we're screwed. At that point we're screwed because we're playing in NRG Stadium and nothing good can happen there. Yeah, I know. Look, at least we can just blame it on the stadium instead of
we're already making hedges. Our internal hedges are already.
That's not an internal hedge. It's just reality, Jameson. You and I both know what happens there. It's never good.
Gross. It's gross. And the stupid little overhang that I was sitting under, I couldn't even see the jumbotron.
No, I mean, yeah, I'm with you though. I think the ceiling is a national championship appearance with luck if you end up against Michigan or an Ohio State. That one, you know, it, the way the CFP semis are this year, it's the Rose Bowl and the Sugar Bowl. So you're essentially getting you're not geographically too disadvantaged unless you're in, I guess, New Orleans against Georgia. I think that's about a split though.
But there's a possibility that we could see a Penn State beat a Michigan and a Michigan beat
Right.
Ohio State, and we'd see a Pac-12 team go undefeated, and it would be Pac-12 versus Big 12 2-3.
I mean, give me a Pac-12 team for sure. I'm cool with that.
Then we'd have Rose Bowl.
Yeah, Rose Bowl. I think 2-3. You're in the Rose Bowl. I like to go ahead and say
versus
that.
a Pac-12 team is what I'm saying in terms of geographical disadvantage.
Fair. Yeah. Well, okay. Yeah, I think that's fair. But I think overall OU travels just as good as anyone. I think they would out travel Washington, Oregon, etc. But you're right. You're right. Yeah, that's fair.
It'd be close.
Yeah, I think it would be close. Yeah, I think you're right. If we did end up with Pac-12, that would be a geographical disadvantage, to say the least. But Rose Bowl, it feels like the Rose Bowl is the best case scenario, unless we somehow get one and play a Big Ten team in NOLA. That's just not happening. That's wishcasting.
No chance we're one.
No. We don't have the strength of schedule for it. Like even with another Texas, we wouldn't have that. But ultimately, it comes down to taking care of business and beating Texas at the end. Probably Texas at the end. You can make an argument for West Virginia, with their, their skills, but we have them on the schedule as well, and I just don't see them, making that run. It's just clearly going to be Texas. I think OU makes that run. It's OU Texas, and I think our floor is. I mean, I guess our floor. A disaster would be missing the Big 12 championship, but I think our floor is probably. Losing the Big 12 to Texas and getting into a New Year's Six bowl. That's probably the realistic floor.
A 2-loss season.
Yeah, 2-loss season. Ty?
I do have a quick point on geography. The West Coast is massive. I just ran these numbers. OU is not significantly farther. I understand you're talking about like alumni go to certain cities and it becomes sort of easier for them to travel. But if you're talking about, say, the University of Washington playing OU in the Rose Bowl, if you're just looking at geographic distance, it's pretty close to a neutral site game. The University of Washington is as far from LA as Elk City, Oklahoma is. So, you're talking about maybe an hour more if you're looking at a drive. On the roads, so it's
don't drive that drive, people. It's not fun.
No,
I
drove Norman here to Scottsdale, and it's where Route 66 is cool, but it's rough. Once you get outside of Texas, it's not a good place.
A lot of cacti and sand.
Surprisingly, there's not really any cacti on Route 66 until you get like 30 minutes from the Phoenix Metro. Okay. Elevation has something to do with that. Anyways, is it my turn?
Yeah, it's definitely your turn.
Okay. Yes.
Okay,
so
Skip.
The floor. I'll never forget. I had a long running disinformation campaign trying to convince people that Skip went to y'all's high school. Still ongoing. I might start that up again. I used to use that against our friend Andy all the time. I think the ceiling for this OU team is, again, losing the Big 12 championship and then losing whatever bowl that would entail. I think if we,
ceiling.
I think we win. No, the floor.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. So sorry. Oh,
we're just no matter what.
I'm sorry. The floor. The absolute floor, I think, realistically for this OU team is losing the Big 12 championship and then also losing whatever bowl we end up in. I think realistically we win our bowl no matter what. I will say, right, and I'm surprised that I'm taking the more OU homer take on this than Bobby is. I'm a big, like, look at what the other guys are putting out on the field and then look at what you're putting out. And this is not just because of this game. This OU team is not the best OU team in the past 10 years. It's not the best OU team in our lifetimes. I think if they have a little bit of Sooner magic, because I don't think we used any this past week, and if we have a little bit of Sooner magic and we get in the right games because we make our own luck, just because Georgia has taken a step back, Kirby Smart's already hedging, saying everyone in the SEC should be ranked, which is absurd when you're putting up a stinker against Mark Stoops in Kansas. Oregon, I'm not convinced that they're legit because everything that they've done is based on beating a Colorado team that barely beat an Arizona State team that got smoked by Oklahoma State.
Yeah.
Texas, we already know is beatable. Ohio State does not look that great. No one should ever believe in Michigan in spite of what they did against Ohio State the past couple of years. Who else is there? LSU is not good. Notre Dame is not, good. Alabama is, better now that they've figured out their quarterback situation. I'm not sure what Saban was thinking, but I think the absolute ceiling, I'm not saying this is going to happen, maybe less than 5% chance that this is plausible. We could win a national championship this year.
5%'s a hell of a percentage. You're saying that's 20 to 1 odds. So
it could be it could be 0.00001, right? It's not the chances of us winning a national championship this year, I think, are not zero. And that's in part because a lot of the other incumbents that have been there have taken a big step back. And if we can just keep our heads down and do the right thing, I think we'll require a bit more luck than we did this past week to beat Texas again in December. And I don't want to jinx us, knock on some wood here. But realistically, right, I don't think – I hope we win a playoff game is realistic. Because like you said, there's all sorts of scenarios that play out. I think we stay at 3 because of SEC and Big Ten bias. I think Georgia can continue to win every game by 3, and they would still probably stay at 1 unless Ohio State wins. I think Michigan is kind of stuck at 2. But, if Michigan, Ohio State, if the Big Ten kind of cannibalizes, I think we could see a number 2 OU, maybe number 3 OU, avoid Georgia. I would maybe be a little bit less worried about Georgia than maybe even some of the Big Ten teams. Whoa. But because realistically, I don't think we have the offense for the offense to carry it. This is not a Dillon Gabriel jab, but I would be more worried about a team that we could get in a shootout in, like a Washington or like someone that has a lot of offensive prowess than Georgia that just hasn't. They haven't been that impressive. So I've gone kind of long on this, but I think the absolute ceiling, not to jinx it, is win, not show up, but win a national championship.
I think that's fair. I just think with Georgia's schedule, I just personally am quite a bit higher on Georgia than I think you are, because I think they're kind of sleepwalking early. They bounced back in a big way against Kentucky, just swamped them. Don't have a lot of tough games left. They have to play at Tennessee. I think Florida has not been great, in the cocktail party. I just feel like Georgia has the guys that if you run into them, I think that's where the line ends. I think we can beat any team in the country, but probably Georgia. That's probably
yes. I think this is a rare time. And in this hypothetical, OU's only going to have 2 games against the same team to hang their hat on, which obviously there should be an asterisk there. But in the hypothetical that you have an OU versus Georgia postseason game, I think you can say that Georgia ain't played nobody, Paul, because Tennessee is not looking good. Ole Miss is not looking good. Mark my words, Kentucky will be a 4-loss team by the end of the season. And then you're hanging your hat on what? They beat Spencer Rattler and USC, the real USC, Southern Carolina, who hasn't been anything good since their star tight end left and came to OU, even though he's been widely disrespected at OU by some on this pod. But
yeah, look, that's obviously way too far in the future. There's a whole half of a season to go. But
this will be our bye week.
I'm with you. I think what's that?
Our bye week pod will be hypothetical OU versus Georgia Natty. Who wins?
We'll just start our college football playoff preview. What could go wrong? Because we might
Let's
lose
get
to Texas again.
tattoos.
Yeah.
We lost content, boys. Damn.
If we needed to run OU Texas back, that might not go the right way. But I think there's still that was not a fluke. That was a legitimate Texas effort. I think OU can. I think OU can play with anybody. And here's the thing that's scary about it. The thing that's exciting about it. This isn't even the final product yet. We don't have our 5-star linemen coming in. We don't have David Stone. We don't have all of the pieces yet of the project that Brent Venables is creating. And the fact that this is a possibility to make our playoff run is pretty. I mean, that says a lot about where this project is, how quickly the culture's changed, how quickly the defense has changed, and it's exciting for the future overall. Regardless of what happens this season, the best is yet to come, I think.
Yeah, sorry, I was mid-yawn. I think this was a great pod, Bobby. I think we should cut it off at 1 hour and 27.
Hey, that game deserved 1 hour 27.
No, it did. It did.
But no, I'm with you, Jameson. I think that's a wrap. Ty, final thoughts?
Yeah, once again, because I keep getting dogged on for this, but I can change. Dillon Gabriel is absolutely, I think, the best quarterback for this OU team currently. I mean, look at it, right? Who wins national championships at Alabama? Not the good quarterbacks, not the one that wins Heisman's. Who wins at Georgia? Arguably maybe the best
ones
quarterback.
That Brent Musburger like their girlfriend. That's the ones who win.
Arguably,
wow.
I would say
the
best quarterback. I would say arguably the best quarterback that's ever played college football since Baker Mayfield. We're not going to mention his name because we don't want to steal Dillon Gabriel's thunder. But sometimes it's better to win a national championship if your quarterback is just kind of So.
Yeah. Hey, look, we've had a lot of great quarterbacks at OU, and Josh Heupel's the one who won the last one. So
exactly.
He wasn't bad, but he's not Bradford. He's not, some of the best we've had, like not Baker or Kyler or Jalen.
Well,
you never know. You never know. We don't need to get into
Florida should be stripped of their national championship. Time will tell.
We should have beaten Florida. Anyways, that's an off-season pod right there. Jameson's about to collapse.
DeMarco Murray.
Jameson 100% has an early morning, and we are keeping him up.
I worked this morning too, so
no, dude, that's a tough turnaround. All right, hey, thank you all so much for watching our OU Texas Red River recap, and thank you to those of y'all who have listened with us all week long. It has been just an awesome time to just put out a ton of content. We had a blast. This is, I believe, our 4th episode in a week going back to Iowa State recap.
We did 4 last week.
Yeah. So
this is number 5 in the span of a week. Because we did the Iowa State recap, we did the Texas preview, we did the State Fair preview, and we did the weekend spread, and then this is number 5.
Yeah. So we have been putting out a ton. We are excited for a little bit of a break, but we'll be back.
Subscribe, like this video, help us with the algorithm.
Yeah, subscribe, help us with the YouTube overlords. We'd love it. If you like it, you don't like the show, tell your friends. We'd love to continue growing the pod. It's been fun.
And if you don't like it, hate on us in the comments.
Exactly, because we like that too. It's always funny. Yeah, great. See, I think we have a really special football team. Really special season ahead of us. So stay tuned. We're just going to keep pumping out great content, exciting stuff to say the least. We will be back on Wednesday for the weekend spread with Boat and Blake picking. Because look, the weekend spread doesn't take weeks off. No bye weeks for us. And then we'll be back next Sunday to do a bit of a brief UCF preview, but not a ton there. But thank you all so much for all of your patronage and viewership. We'll see you soon. Have a good bye week, everyone. Take a good rest. And Boomer Sooner. I don't want to say beat Texas because we just did. Have a good weekend, everyone.
Damn.